All right, that was a heck of a lot of fun, wasn't it, folks? We're just going to be here briefly for a roll-in going free. I don't know who's here. I don't have the screen up. Let me see if I can find out who's here, if anybody's here. Hopefully, it's not just me. Could be me. Could be just me. But that's life. No, it looks like we have my favorite number, 33, and now 34 because I've entered. How's my mic? How's everything? I had a great conversation there with Paul over on PWR. What I wanted to talk about briefly, I guess, a couple of things. I did want to show, and the main thing I want to speak to, and while we're here together briefly, is how to handle the anti-lockdown movement. You also have this anti-vaccination movement, and how do we interact with these people? Now, of course, here on this channel, we agree with everything that the WHO says, and of course, everything that the health department says here in the United States, whatever these folks say. And naturally, we defer to CNN in all instances. Even if they disagree with these other entities, we will go with them. So might end up changing the title a little bit of this role. And I just decided to do it really quickly because of how we deal with it. A questioner on PWR brought up this question in the question widget on entropy. And you may do the same here as well. If you would like to tag me while we are together, you can tag me as No White Guilt up on YouTube, up on D Live, up on Odysee, wherever we're rolling. Make sure you tag me so I'll see with a question or comment. You can also financially gift. Entropy is up and running. Where you can financially gift at 15% cost to you. You can also financially gift over at nowhiteguilt.org on the financial gift tab with cryptocurrency, and there is a snail mail address there that you can reach me at as well. Finally, we have Cash App, and I want to recognize right off the bat that we have Kay, who financially gifted $20. God bless you, and thank you so very much, Kay. And writing back in return here, thank you, Jason. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate the gratitude, especially as the invective is shoveled this direction. The gratitude does mean quite a bit. And of course, we had Yiz, the champion over there on PWR, stepping in with her testimonial about how she's able to convert people using the lexicon and dialectics of the practice of going free of the anti-white narrative. We're going to keep this short, this roll in short, because of the fact that we want people to watch. We want people to know that they can change the world. They too can change the world. And they can do it without even engaging or practicing the practice of going free. We would like them to do that because it benefits them and it enables them to access more of their latent physical, mental, and spiritual potential, but that's for another day. What we're talking about now specifically, and in conjunction with what Yiz was saying over there on PWR, is how do you interact with the people in the anti-lockdown movement and the anti-vax movement, these kinds of crowds. And there are a lot of different thoughts there. Some of them are kind of kooky. It's sort of a motley mess of ideas that these people have come together to oppose a specific thing, but by way of different motivations, different causes for their decision to oppose these sorts of things. Again, I am not saying that I oppose either. I submit to the will of the CDC and World Health Organization, but we're not talking about whether or not those endeavors or those reasons are legitimate or illegitimate. Some of them are quite kooky, but irrespective of what they believe, these different communities believe, there is a way for the first time to actually benefit by way of these some will say organic, some will say artificial, whatever. There's some current in society that is represented by these monikers, these titles, and what can we do as white sympathetic people, and specifically us here in Going Free, white positive people? And in the past, what have you all heard about what do we do? Like the 9/11 truthers, I think is what they were called. How do you handle them? How do you interact with them? Well, in many of the groups that I helped and participated with over the years, and specifically following 9/11, I was present. I witnessed how they attempted to bring these people, if you will, into the envelope. There were two strategies. If you all were there, you will remember. And of course, this has happened many times. There have been many different currents that white sympathetics have attempted to steer to the truth of the attack on Western kind and the remedy to so many of our ills by addressing that which is the basis of the attack and the target of the attack, right? And they have all failed. Why have they failed? And the two different arguments when it comes to these different groups are what? The one side is to bring these different endeavors, as I witnessed, to meetings, have joint meetings with them. And I cannot tell you, oil and water is just, that comes nowhere close. Fire and ice, nowhere close. I mean, it's just, it was so incongruous, these meetings where you would have, whether it was the truther movement or it was the taxation movement or whatever it was, and they tried to, there've been so many currents, and they try to bring them together. And the anti-lockdown, the anti-vaxxer movements are no different. They try to bring these groups together in the hope that they will, some of these people, most of these people will end up realizing that they should be white sympathetic and address the actual root of these issues. But that never happens. It's never worked. They are vagues. They are terrified of appearing heretical. They are terrified of the consequences of being heretical. They are villainy signaling anti-whiteism. They don't want to be the immoral person in the anti-white narrative. And so they're not going to adopt white sympathetic ideas, particularly if they are white negative, which is focusing on other groups of man, focusing, and all of these other things we talk about all the time. So I could see their faces, and I would point out to people at these meetings, I would say, you can easily see which ones are the anti-taxers, which ones are the pro-property rights, which ones are the freelanders, which ones are the 9/11 truthers, because their eyes would be big as saucers as anybody who was white sympathetic was speaking. They would kind of be looking around. They would have these stacks. They were normal people. There were soccer moms and all of these sorts of things. They would have stacks of leaflets about, say 9/11 truth type stuff. And again, I'm not speaking to the veracity of claims on either side. This is not about that. Of course, I, as the owner of this channel, agree with everything that the government says, and the channel and the platform YouTube says, and CNN says, and I will change my opinions as they change their opinions. Having said that, the other argument on the other side of the aisle from white sympathetics is, well, it's just a distraction. These different movements, these different currents in society, you should just ignore them. You should just stay away from them. You should just keep your distance, in so many ways of saying that same sentence. Just stay away from them. Now, I'm going to ask all of you, how have you seen, if you've been white sympathetic for many years, how have you seen the interaction between white sympathetic spheres and these other spheres, these other currents in society? How have you seen, have you witnessed any successes and bring a large scale? I'm not talking about one person, because surely you're going to have people who are white sympathetic who also then get into the anti-vax or anti-lockdown movement. But where do you see the real crossover? And in fact, do you not see where there is some real hostility, some real friction, where our folks will, white sympathetic folks, I shouldn't say our, because they're not necessarily in concord with the things that we believe in white well-being and white positivity. But in fact, do we not hear of the stories where white sympathetic people show up at things like 9/11 Truth or states' rights or secession groups or the anti-vax groups. Do you not? And even before the current vaccination, there's been an anti-vaccination movement forever, sphere forever. Do you not see the white sympathetic people getting shouted down the exact same way they would get shouted down anywhere else? Do you not see them maligned as you see them maligned anywhere else, particularly when they start talking in a white negative way? Do you not see the same thing? I submit to you that yes, you have. That is the way it always happens, and that's why there is this big difficulty trying to understand, how do you deal with these different currents in society? We have a financial gift from the great Yiz the Eunuch, as a matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen. And in just a moment, I'm going to tell you what you should be doing when it comes to these different currents, these different spheres in society. Yiz writes here, I've been working weekends on the house we inherited from my husband's mother. So I've not been at the Go Free streams lately. I miss all of you. And little white heart emoji. God bless you, sister. Thank you so much. And bless you. Promethean blessings to you and your husband. And how splendid of you to continue in the midst of, I'm sorry that you had this death in the family. But thank you. I assume the inheritance comes after a death. Although some people are doing that before, so that they can see their descendants and the people that they bequeath their things enjoying those things. But I apologize. I'm sorry for that loss, and best of luck on work on the house. I know it'll go beautifully if you have anything to do with it. And thank you for your service to White Wellbeing. Stay tuned, folks. In just a moment, I'm going to tell you what you should be doing relative to these groups, relative to these currents, the anti-vax, anti-lockdown, 9/11 truth, the new ones that come up in the future. Hey, that new one that's going to come up in the future, the it wasn't actually Martians movement. That's going to be another one that's coming up in the future. Who knows what the next one's going to be called, right? We're going to be dealing with these forever, for the rest of our lives. They're going to be popping up, and they're going to be peopled and populated by normal vagues out there. And not only that, but you'll see in these movements that there'll also be non-white people who are in these movements. Some of those non-white people are not going to be rabidly anti-white. Some of those white people are going to be rabidly anti-white. And so how can you interact with them? How can you use their new energy, their new angst, their new drive? Many of these people are really impassioned, and they become so for years. There are still people who had a fuse lit under them after 9/11 and became a part of the 9/11 truth movement, as it was called, that are still active, are still very active. So how can we direct these people in such a way? How can we help them in such a way? How can we liberate them in such a way that they end up benefiting themselves, Western civilization, and therefore Western kind, and ourselves as individual members of Western kind and citizens of Western civilization, citizens of our different countries, which include, of course, non-white people, both good and bad. We have Joseph here. Wow, let's get out the raucous emojis for Joseph, who just showed up with a $50 financial gift. God bless you. What an absolute champion Joseph is. Great to see you, brother. Thank you so very much for that financial gift on this impromptu roll. I guess all roll-in going frees are impromptu, but this one's certainly impromptu because of the importance of this and the fact that these different currents are going to, the ones that I've named, are going to be gaining more and more traction, more and more steam. And there is, you don't want to get so close to this flame that you get burnt by them, right? They have their accounts deleted all the time. They have the authorities shutting them down and I guess algorithmically undermining the work that they are doing online. You do not want to become one of those victims, right? So you don't want to believe, and this is another error that many have made. And I'm going to tell you exactly how we should be doing this in a moment. You don't want to end up in one of those environments thinking, well, if I articulate their views as well, if I just say the same things they're saying, then they'll listen to the things I have to say about white sympathy. Well, no, they won't. And in fact, you'll just suffer the consequences I remember back when it was those truther people, and there were white sympathetic people who were on their Facebook at the time, and they were able to talk about white sympathetic projects, advocacy, opinions, and nothing happened to their Facebook accounts. But the moment they began articulating some of the claims, some of those claims obviously wildly conspiratorial by 9/11 truthers, their Facebook gone. And so what use was that to them? The 9/11 truther crowd, they didn't suddenly take up white sympathy, and now they've lost their Facebook as a consequence of saying things that were prohibited by those at the top. So there's no use complaining. There's no use complaining. We don't do that because those who complain are coming up with excuses for why they failed. We're not coming up with excuses for failure. We are victorious in all that we do. So we just accept the field for the way that it is, and then we navigate that field for victory. So Jonash is here. Great to see you, brother. So is Sebastian. I assume everybody's hearing me okay. So is Kristen. And there's the great imminent rain is with us, ladies and gentlemen. A big Promethean hail so hard to that champion. Nordic Iron is here. Nancy Drew, great to see you, sister. Welcome, welcome. J-Link, so many great people. And so there's Franklin, another true champion in service to white well-being. The kind of guy that, is going to end up doing so many wonderful things that statues get built to him. Is that Tyrone is with us, Greek-American, a Greek-German-American. Hello to you and welcome. Nancy Drew said yes to something I said. Hello to you. And Simon is with us. The great Eric Anderson is with us. Wonderful to see you, brother. And was a 0022. Is that who's here? Great to see. And there is the great Jerome and Fit and Healthy at Any Age. Both true champions. Diamond Dust. Wow, Jason, I love the color combinations today. Well, thank you so much. A sartorial compliment here in the midst of our roll. And we actually had a guy in PWR at the very beginning in the chat tried to snipe at the my dress shirt and tie today, and then ended up saying that he was in a tracksuit and a t-shirt or something. Well, let's see. Is this Hyuk? Why do you see, or what do you see as the path forward with the world seemingly imploding? We have the path forward. We are recapturing our destiny. And if you, brother, help us as we are helping ourselves, the great Rory is here. Dr. Dinger is here. If you start going free, or you at least do what I'm going to share in just a moment, you will change the world. Because what we have to do, and this goes right to what's happening in Afghanistan and why it was so easy for the smaller Taliban force to defeat the force of mercenaries that the United States, the UK, and others had propped up with super advanced weaponry and pay and gear. And that is because of the story that they are living in. And people who perhaps are just not intelligent enough to understand this, that's fine. I was saying to First Last, when it comes to music, I'm worse than a fish out of. I can absolutely enjoy music. I can dance very well, but creating music, it's the opposite. I'm not only am I not good, I'm the opposite of that. So there are things that we're good at and things that we're not good at, and I've been working at this for many years. And you all can make your determination about whether or not I have insights that it makes sense, reason, logic, and evidence. We always bow to those. In fact, that's what keep it Promethean at its very core is the focus of on reason, logic, and evidence, just the core of decision making and interpretation. But this is the way. We have to change the story that our brothers and sisters live in. We have to, and it doesn't have to be, this is a curative contagion. You don't have to control the media to do this. You don't have to control the news. You don't have to control the universities. You don't have to control the radio stations. This is something that every single person can do. They can get involved right away, and they can begin making a difference. You want to know whether or not you can make a difference? We are the reason why anti-white and anti-whiteism is being used across the West and gaining speed. We are the reason. We've been doing this for a great many years. Great champions have been doing this. I've been doing this since 1994, using anti-whiteism, spreading it everywhere I could, against the headwind. Folks know about this, against the headwind from hell, I'll just say, within the white sympathetic sphere, much less beyond to places like conservative realms and just general vague world environments. And for those who don't know what a vague is, it's just a normie. We prefer vague because they're vague to us. They're vague to themselves very often. They don't know exactly what they believe. This is the way to go. The lexicon dialectics of the practice of going free, not an organization. Another important thing that I was able to see way back in the day when it came to how we interact with our environment, our society across the West, societies across the West, and that vis-a-vis how the anti-whites and the anti-white superstructure, their organization, are able to take down what we create very easily. And so that's why I created something, and we are all together now in the process of creating this, the organizational entity, chugging along and becoming increasingly more powerful and increasingly resembling what we want and needed to resemble, so that we would be able to communicate in such a way and make a difference in the world, and at the same time make it virtually impossible. And I can say, I shouldn't say it like that, virtually impossible. It is impossible to shut down what we are doing as we are now setting it free, short of rounding up everybody and mass murdering and mass, and governments have done that. You've heard of democide. But that's the kind of thing that if the government begins, any of our Western governments begin doing this, that's the kind of thing that will immediately change the societal context in which we live. And there'll be opportunities there for us to take advantage of, to recapture our destiny, and it would be over for the anti-whites. The beautiful thing here is that we are amorphous, we are protean, that we can be where we need to be, and at the same time, there is nothing there for the anti-whites to grasp, to wrap their hand around, no throat for them to grab. They could take me out, they could take whoever out, but now this is out there, and we keep pushing because of its success. Please work with us when it comes to that. Let me see. Oh, fit and healthy at any age says, I haven't seen this. It says, looking super fly. Great tie. Oh, rhymes. Very well done. I haven't seen or heard the word fly for like dressed well in a long time. Thank you. Diamond Dust, loving the color combination. Thank you so very much. All right. What should you do? Franklin says here, the lexicon works very well with the Daily Wire and Crowder supporters I've been talking to. Read that, folks. Read that for yourself in the live chat. Franklin is saying, this is a testimonial to the success of the practice of going free, the lexicon and dialectics we use. He writes, the lexicon works very well with the Daily Wire and Crowder supporters I've been talking to. In all my time in the past, trying to talk to them, I am now far more successful. And that testimonial, Franklin, thank you very much for sharing that, is now added to all of the testimonials of others in the white sympathetic sphere who, taking a white negative language, a white negative approach to white sympathy, going into those other communities, had no success, except for those folks who already were white sympathetic to some degree. And so really they're just another card in the deck of folks who are white sympathetic, just getting shifted from one deck to another deck. And therefore, you're really not accomplishing anything whatsoever. The great Sloths is here, a true champion. Wonderful to see you. So is Dean Wood. All right, folks, this is what you do. This is how we change the world. Kingdom of Vinland saying nice outfit. I didn't know that I had done that well when I picked out some sartorial success today. Harbinger, great question. I actually was pricing polygraph testers, companies, if you will. It was just about 2 weeks ago again, because Roy Danton is here. Wonderful to see you, brother, because we are getting closer to, needless to say, everything going on has really pushed back the polygraph test. But I will be taking that test, and it's going to be so glorious. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for all of these people who say these, both anti-whites and just jealous-natured people, very little people, midget wits and midget sticks in the white sympathetic sphere, who just hate on yours truly because, ultimately in their minds, for whatever reason, they see me as closer to what they believe to be the perfect Westman. Of course, they're going to use another word that we're not going to use here because the ear is against the door, but is what they see as the perfect Westman. So they make a lot of lying claims, and I have been adding a lot of those questions for the polygrapher so that I can be asked those things under the examination, and we can see the veracity of my statements. It's very easy for me to take a polygraph test and to ask a bunch of questions that people might think are difficult because I haven't lived some degenerate life. It's not to say that I haven't done things that I would redo a different way. Absolutely, I'm a human being. I've made tons of mistakes. But the kinds of claims that people make are, in order to smear me, are just outrageous. And both anti-white and all those midget wits and midget sticks in the white sympathetic sphere. What should you do? Finally, the answer. What should you do when it comes to the anti-vaxxers, the anti-lockdown people, those groups? How should you interact with them? What should you do to make a difference for white well-being? 5 key concepts you need to communicate while you speak. You're not teaching. You're not saying, let me break this down for you. Let me tell you exactly what this is, how it works. You are going to say these things. You are going to say them as though your audience, one or more, already knows. What's the beauty of this? They do. They just need you to give them the name for the concept. These things are already nebulous in their minds. They already exist to some degree. This is how I have constructed these things over the years. So always working with the Aristotelian model that things had to be demonstrable, that they had to be empirical, working on the things that work, experimenting with the things that work. Think of the tradition of Western civilization. In our greatest Westman, they were tinkerers. They got in the garage, they got in the shed, they got in the laboratory, they got together on the military compound, they got together in the schools, and they experimented. That's what we did. That's the scientific method. That's Aristotle and Bacon. You can thank for that. So you're going to use, in conversation with these people, anti-white, the concept anti-white, the concept anti-whiteism. Both of these were in the dictionaries, and now we are endeavoring to ensure that they make a comeback. They were anti-whites, had them removed from a great many dictionaries, and we were able to find, I think it was a 40-year-old dictionary, find anti-white and anti-whiteism in there. And so we're going to use these two concepts in these conversations. We're also going to use, and let me real quickly say, we use anti-white, and I'll give some examples as well, and we're going to get out of here then. We use anti-white because all that matters, I'm not going to get deep into it, we don't have the time, but all that matters for our audience is that they understand that there is a concept that represents a behavior, represents deeds, and encapsulates all of that behavior and deeds It does so in a way with a presupposition, a premise that is unspoken, and that is that there is a people being victimized. And if there's a people being victimized and you are a member of that people, then your membership in that people is strengthened by way of that concept and that victimization. Again, most of us don't know how a rocket makes it into space. We don't have to know this. You don't have to know this is the way it just works. Anti-Whiteism is the ideology of the anti-white. It is a superset. It encapsulates all of the subsets like liberal, Democrat, Republican, really nowadays, almost just about all of the political thought nowadays, feminism, all of those things are subsets in the superset that is anti-whiteism. Then you have anti-white narrative. The anti-white narrative is the narrative that is fiction bolstered by truth, bolstered by massaged truth, bolstered by tortured truth, bolstered by absolute fiction, bolstered by absolute lies, bolstered by magnifications of wrong done by a white person here or there, and the whitewashing of a non-white person done here or there. So you want to talk about the anti-white narrative. You also want to talk about white erasure. What is white erasure? Well, it's in our society. It's where we are disappearing from our history books. The history books are being rewritten. The statues and paintings and murals are being taken down, are being painted over, drawn over. Biological white erasure. We are ceasing to exist as a people. And that's another very important phrase, concept that you want to use. And finally, Western kind, the name that we use for our people. The anti-whites are endeavoring to reduce us to even less than just a color, which of course is white, and people worldwide know what that means. But now, and it's been the case for a couple decades, and it's increasing, becoming more prevalent. We have been reduced to the non-members of a particular group. So you'll see where you fill in your race, you are now non-Hispanic white. So the category is Hispanic, and you are the non-thing that's in that category. That's where they want to reduce you. We want to push back against that. There's a name for our people, Western kind. Everyone that you speak to in these different movements, these different currents, anti-vax, anti-lockdown, they're going to understand these concepts. They're not going to need you to explain in detail what it actually means. When you say Western kind, they're going to be able to put together, oh, those are the Westerners. That must be us. And when you say white erasure, and then you're using it in context of whatever you might be saying, they're going to be able to understand right away. Oh, so she just said that this white erasure and all of our statues being taken down is a horrible thing. So that obviously means us when she says that. When she says anti-white narrative, or when he says anti-white narrative, and again, this is in a context, then, oh, I understand. So this is artificial. This is a narrative that she's, and the narrative is anti-white. Of course, there are many hidden premises here that enable you to win the conversation, to persuade that person, even without you having to make a bunch of ancillary arguments to bolster the hidden premises at the very beginning. When you say anti-white and anti-whiteism, same exact thing. They're immediately going to get and understand what that means. You don't have to explain Locke. You don't have to explain some bizarre political ideology. You don't have to explain that some economy or political ideology that you are advancing that has been smeared, you believe, by the person, audience of one or more in front of you for their whole lives. You don't have to try to talk them out of that belief. because you're not going to be using talk about a political ideology or an economic strategy for a country. You're not going to be saying any of those things. So when you talk to them, it's very simple. They're talking about the lockdown. Maybe you're going to share some sort of common ground with them, that maybe a one level of lockdown is acceptable, but another level is not, or whatever it is. When you talk about that, you're going to talk about not the them who are doing this, or not the Democrats or who are doing this, or not the Labor is doing this, or whoever it might be, your political party in your country. You're going to say the anti-whites are doing this to us. This is a result of anti-whiteism. This is just another, when they're talking about the vaccines. Maybe you like some vaccines, maybe you like all vaccines, maybe you like no vaccines for yourself, or whatever it might be. You're going to find some sort of a common ground, and you're going to say, just another aspect of anti-whiteism. This is how they white erase us from our countries. This is how they get rid of Western kind. It is disgusting, the victimization of Western kind. Now, depending upon the group, your particular audience, and what their focus is, you may, or you'll be able to use some of those 5 concepts, maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe all 5, maybe 3. It just depends. You're the one who is going to have to be agile enough to figure out what works in that scenario. The important thing here, though, is that these things are curative contagions. That's what the practice of going free is. It's a curative contagion. Once they have these concepts, once they're empowered, they will use them perforce, because they work. And they don't end up, and by working, that presupposes that they are not going to appear to be the villain in someone else's story. What story? The anti-white narrative. They are not going to appear to be immoral in the anti-white narrative, which we all know that everybody else is living in. So they will be able to take what you have shared and go out into the world and repeat those concepts with vigor, with pride, with force. And those who hear them will what? Be able to do the same. So every time you communicate these things to someone, just these 5 key concepts, every time you communicate them, they will be repeated by those who receive them. Think of the power. You want to know if you can do something in the world? You don't have to invite them over. You don't have to go into their rallies for the purpose of handing out political leaflets or whatever it is. If you're white negative, leaflets about differences in the races or something like this, and you're focusing on all these other races, you don't have to try to do all of that garbage. It doesn't work in the first place. You're not going to win over anybody unless they're already white sympathetic. So this will work, though. Little church mothers, grandmothers, they will take that concept that you give her or them, and then they will repeat it. And they will repeat it to those who hear, and you can do the math. If you were good at math, you can figure out how rapidly that sort of thing can spread. You can think of it as we're talking about these diseases and these viruses. You can think of the R0 factor of a virus, which is how they measure the contagiosity, or the infectivity is the more common word. So how many, once one person has it, how many people does it infect before that person is immune system or medicine cures them of it? Well, maybe we'll end up finding out that the R factor for the practice of going free is 10, is 20. Ultimately, it's determined by you, because it's how many times are you going to repeat the concepts that are going to empower people. Now, some of those people are going to want to know more, and those are the ones you can help to actually begin the practice of going free. They can become these like power stations themselves. They can improve themselves physically, mentally, and spiritually, and they can take that energy, that talent, that creativity out into the world. God bless them. I hope they do absolutely magnificent things with it. Before we get out of here, I want to get a big round of raucous emojis for Ardent White. This wonderful woman, of course, you heard her testimonial. We shared it here, where it was a video testimonial where she talked about how, because she was anti-white, because she was infected with these mean pathogens, she hated her skin. She hated being white. She's fair skinned. It's lovely. Porcelain white skin is, all our shades are lovely, but porcelain white skin is absolutely lovely. Probably the most hated and mocked and ridiculed. Beautiful skin she had. She hated it. She tanned all the time. Her babies had the same fair skin, and she was pushing them out into the sun all the time because she thought it's so ugly. It's so inferior. She thought it was inferior, the sort of words that she shared. She was very nervous about it. She was kind of had that nervous laughter while she was saying that in her testimonial. But then she started going free, and she saw indeed that this was a disease. This was an anti-white thought disease in her mind, and that she was hating herself, and as a consequence, hating her babies to some degree, hating her husband to some degree, certainly hating our people. Now she has been going free for a little while, and a couple months, I think. She has become an absolute nuclear power plant of creativity, of productivity, of love for Western kind, love for herself, love for her family. And she's making these lovely little things I want to share here. She has she made that. There are like 50. And I think she went on to, this is color. She colored this in. And all of these lovely drawings that she is doing. I only have 2, regrettably. It is a damn shame I don't have more of them to share. Maybe I did send a message to her, because maybe we will be able to get her in the future to participate in the children's coloring book. It's going to have some other fun games for children that I'm going to create. And we already have one lovely lady. I don't know if I can say her name, so I won't at the moment, who is also a beautiful artist, and in a different country. We are a global effort, the practice of going free for White Wellbeing. And she's already drawn a number of pictures that are going to be in that book that I am making. It's going to be absolutely glorious. A big thank you, heartfelt thank you to Arden White. We love you, sister, you, your husband, and your family. And we look forward to you making many more beautiful drawings and comments, testimonials, and the growth of you spiritually, and your family spiritually, and your children growing in love and service to White Wellbeing is such a beautiful thing. Just think about how magnificent those children are going to be. I also want to share quickly, and I can come back. I want to share quickly. Let's see if I can do this. No, that's not the way I want it to go. I also want to share quickly, come on, here we go, that we have now we celebrated our webmaster the other day, an absolute epic champion of champions. And the website nowhiteguilt.org continues to grow. And hopefully I can find it here. I'm not, oh, there it is. Okay, so there you have the website. Introductory video here. And I just posted the making of this video a couple days ago. Pretty funny. And let's see. Okay, we go all the way to the top here. And look here at the very top. I assume you all can see it. I can't see the screen right now. At the very top, all the way to the right, is the Go Free Game. The Go Free Game. And we're going to have more here. I mean, we have, oh gosh, I just forgot his name, screen name, who made the software to do the automatic translations of anti-white documents. We'll eventually have that up here. We're going to have all the work Mr. V is doing. But take a look at this, ladies and gentlemen. You can play the Go Free the game. And this is all about teaching you and your children how to exercise the practice of going free in your conversations. Are you choosing the right responses? Are you choosing white negative responses? You want to make sure that you get on the right path in these conversations, because the first person you're having a conversation with is that one inside your head. You need to defeat those meme pathogens, those anti-white diseases that were left in your head, that were implanted in, that you were infected with by anti-whites. So God bless. Let's get a big round again. 2 rounds of raucous emojis for Arden White and our webmaster champion par excellence. A big jump back over here quickly, and we see before we roll out, Yiz, the eunuch, is back again with another $3 financial gift. Thank you, sweet sister. I think that was the only other thing I wanted to share today. What a glorious day it is in service to white well-being. We can change the world. We are changing the world. You can actually do it. You can do it without going to jail. You can do it without having some terrorism task force bang on your door. You can do it from a moral position so that you always look good relative to those around you who are anti-white. Yiz the eunuch knows it well. Financially gifting $3. She writes here, yes, it was a death. This was about her in-law. We were ready for it, though. She had a long 3-year battle with inoperable cancer. Cancer is so wretched. We have a lot of work to do on the estate, and weekends are the only time we can do it, sadly. Well, God bless you both, and I know that you will come out the other side shining as you always do. And we have the great Mrs. Jess Horse financially gifting $10 US. God bless you, sweet sister, and it leaves us with a little white heart emoji. I'm going to swivel around here quickly, and we will refresh. What do you all think about, as I'm about to roll out, what do you all think about the suggestion? The 5 key concepts: anti-white, anti-whiteism, anti-white narrative, Western kind, white erasure. That is all you have to do. If you don't do anything else, that is all you have to do. You have to get to these people and use those concepts when you are speaking with them, and they will catch on right away. So it looks like we're blank over on Cash App. Didn't miss anybody, and that is what is important. We can change the minds of some of these people who are in these different groups, these different spheres, these different endeavors that people are so very passionate about right now. We can connect to their concern, and that's the intelligent way to do this. We can connect to their concern, the truth about the state of the world, the truth about the victims of the attack, the truth about the reasons for the attack, the truth about the deterioration of Western civilization, where it's coming from, who's doing it, anti-whites, and who their primary victim is, Western kind. And since you are a member of Western kind, there are other people suffer from it as well in the non-white races as Western civilization deteriorates, but they are collateral damage. Their suffering is legitimate as well. And that's why some of those people will also, and have also already, come over to helping us put an end to anti-whiteism across the West. Finally, we have here in the question widget, Yonash saying, any progress on the translations of your book? We have translations moving slowly, brother, and thank you so much for the question. Second iteration will be coming out definitely during next month, and working on the audiobook of Prometheus Rising. We just get better and better as we move along, ladies and gentlemen, and it is always exciting. I'm going to take a quick look at what you all might have asked in the live chat, and we will go out on one of the Raymond Foster, and we're going to be speaking more about Raymond Foster, one of his new videos, which is glorious. Let me take a quick look over here and see. I don't see any tags for me, but I see, let's see, Tash is over there, and Bertie is over there, Fledgling is over there. Great to see everybody on D Live. And we have Arianized on Odysee and Popcorn Power, Iron Will. Great to see you all over there. I'll swivel around back to here, ladies and gentlemen. We always go a little bit longer, but that's because of how important the hour is. We have to work quickly. We have something that works for the first time ever. We're not turning off normal people. In fact, we are bringing normal people, ordinary brothers and sisters of Western. I never have a problem speaking with anyone using the lexicon and dialectics. You all know very well that when you have approached people using white negative speech for white sympathetic objectives, that you have felt wrong, you have felt nervous, you have been concerned about what their response might be. I've never felt that way about using the lexicon and dialectics of going free. The great Groundhog Fury is with us, ladies and gentlemen. A true champion, non-Perel. Great to see you, brother. Thank you so much for being here and all of your service to White Wellbeing. All right, we have Harbinger says, Mr. George might be a better musician, and Mark Collett a better gamer, but you're my favorite of the three. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. The others are better, but you're my favorite. No, I know what you mean. Thank you. All right. Let's see. Dean says, I'm a lifetime member, Jason. I hope that's of White Wellbeing. And I bet it is. Ghost Rider is with us. Well, folks, it's been wonderful. And we will be back at least tomorrow with Mr. George and Daniel Concannon. It's going to be a very interesting discussion there on tap tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure you're there. And then, of course, I will be back on Sunday with Going Free, unless something else happens and I have to roll in again. But otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, roll out.